basically this fly is going to be made out of deer hair and dubbing and thread and hook. So the materials are fairly easy to come by and not complicated.
Same hook?
I'm using a size 10, but again, it's the style of tying, and you can adapt it to the whole range of mayflies. But I happen to be using a size 10 and specifically tying a Stenonema March Brown. But you could tie Hendricksons, olives, brown drakes, green drakes if you have them. But it's the style of tie that I'm emphasizing. So you don't have to memorize the color of the dubbing, because that is going to be dictated by the type of mayfly you're trying to imitate. Tighten that up. And I'm going to use the same thread. Seems to work. So basically I'm going to lay down a base. You know, these flies are quite large, quite robust, and they come just before the green drakes do. So every year, when and if I see them, I say, "Oh, that's a green drake," and "Oh, I catch it." No, it's just a Stenonema. But so I'm going to use some deer hair for the tail. You don't need much. Mayfly tails aren't very bulky. Just enough to sort of help to float the fly, and that's about it. So I'm just cutting off a bunch, and I'm going to clean it. Take the under fur out. Okay, I think we can go with that. Give yourself lots of room at the front for tying in the wing. Fly tire creep is something that we're all guilty of, and not talking about the antisocial guy with shifty eyes tying flies into the night in his man cave in the basement. Trim away the extra. Happen to have it March Brown, but it's a tan, so anything that's close enough there is going to do it. Can you see the color of that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Once I get it started, I think I can keep going. So I started at the midpoint because it takes a bit of thread linings to get onto the material. And now we can, now that I've gone back, we can do some serious abdomen building. A little bit more. So I'm using the same deer hair. It's tan. That's what the Mayfly looks like, so we can go with that. And we're going to use considerably less than what you would think you would need. So I picked that much. The usual cleaning, preening, taking out the underfur. There we go. We can stack it. Thank you. We've got an echo.
Lovely echo.
Lovely echo, yeah. Yeah, so we're going to tie these in by the tips. Now, we're going to leave about a gap and a half of tips sticking out, because we're going to take those tips, bend them at right angles, and that'll be the legs. And another term that's used is cross hackle. You may have heard, anybody hear of cross hackle? Yes? Yeah. Yes? No? No? Okay. Just another way of tying a Mayfly done. And we all have our known ways. This is just another way. Hopefully it'll behave. Now what I'm doing is taking and doing a turn behind, maybe 2 turns behind. You see what I've done? That already flares it into a Mayfly wing. So I'm going to half hitch. And the next step is about 1/3 of the way up, I'm going to divide it roughly there. About 1/3 of the way up, more or less. And put my thread in between. A loose line, and then 1/3 of the way up from the front. I'm going to do the same thing. And divide it like that. Some of the hairs are not going to behave, and we're going to cut those out. Hopefully it'll behave. Now what I'm going to do is, this guy here obviously is not going to, he's not going to be part of the fly, so we'll eliminate him right there and then. And then we can trim. Hopefully it'll behave. You guys have a better view. How does that look to you guys? Does that look like a Mayfly wing? Sort? More or less, yeah. Okay.
This is looking at it from underneath anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, but when that comes into, you know, a trout's window I think is 97 degrees, and it's a cone. And as the fly comes in, it sees that first. It'll see the dimple on the water, but it'll see the top of the wing first as it comes into the cone. Draw it out, you know, if you you do a schematic of it. So it actually, you know, theoretically, they will see the top of the wing. And that's why I sometimes like to use this instead of the comparaton, which is completely wrong as far as creating a silhouette that's believable. Maybe to us, maybe the fish don't care. But anyways, this is a much more believable silhouette as the fly comes into the window. You guys know what I'm talking about? Am I? Yeah. Now we're going to make the hackle. You have two choices. If you've got more hair than you need, you can cut them out, or else just utilize them. And as Bob says, if you're going to lose some, that's okay too. I'll show it to you when I'm done, but as long as you get the idea of what I'm doing and why, that's the essence of it. Now this thing's kind of loose, so I have to. And again, at this point, I like to half hitch. Okay, now we can, oh, I guess I lost my dubbing. Oh, no, here it is. And we can dub some in between. That's behaving rather well. I don't know whether I have to wrap around the base of each of them. I've got it figure eighted and it's behaving, so I'm going to leave well enough alone. Just something different. Anybody here familiar with this, or?
I haven't seen that before.
Yeah. So I thought I would, because you know, share ideas and experiences. I'm gonna have to. Again, my dubbing isn't behaving, but that's okay. I'm just gonna take some bare thread over top of that dubbing. That's behaving better than I thought it would, so yeah, I'm reasonably happy with that. Hopefully it'll behave. Yeah. Okay, before I'm going to just trim a bit. There. And that's okay. Some, you know, legs are all over the place. I'll show it to you this way. See?
Yeah. Cool.
Completely different from probably anything that most of you have seen. So I thought I'd pass it on. Well. Okay. Yeah, thanks for... yeah, I keep forgetting that. So, and again, it's the tying style. You can see it there. It's the tying style, not necessarily the color I use for the dubbing. Whatever Mayfly you're imitating, Hendrickson, use the appropriate hook size, use the appropriate dubbing, poly dubbing.